Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is week 7 of my Grow Along With Me series, where we're learning how much food can be grown in a small space. Over the last 6 weeks we've planted some onions and garlic, and sown carrots, turnips, lettuce, spinach and parsnips, all in this small growing area. This is the last week of sowing and we're going to go for spring onions. They're happy to grow close together and are quick to mature. Before we get to that though, check on the growing area and remove any weeds that may be popping up amongst your crops. They're usually easy to spot and they'll look different from the other seedlings. The carrots are doing really well and we need to thin these down a little. Grab yourself a small pair of scissors. I use these thread cutters as they're cheap and small, so they can get into harder to reach areas. Look for any clumps of seedlings growing very closely together, or where the stems are touching. Cut them away at the base, leaving just one in place. The one which is left now doesn't need to compete for space and will grow stronger. You can leave any seedlings which have a little space around them. Anything more than a finger width space between will be fine. If you can, try to leave the strongest looking seedling, but don't worry too much about this if it's your first time thinning seedlings. And do take your time, you don't need to do it all in one go. Do it over the course of a few days if it's easier for you. The turnips are looking good. This bare patch here is going to annoy me though. I'll sow some more seeds here and they should catch up just fine. Your lettuce should have germinated too. Thin these down to just one healthy seedling. Do the same for the spinach where you have multiple seedlings growing together. The parsnips haven't germinated yet, but they can take a little time. Onto the spring onions then. As before, rough up the surface a little as it may have become compacted over time. Pour a good handful of the seeds into your hand and 1 pinch at a time, sprinkle evenly over the surface of the last growing area. As before, go right up to the edge, and when you're done, move the compost around a little to cover the seedlings up. I've not needed to water the seeds after sowing for the past few weeks because it's been so wet. But as we've had a week of hot days here, I'm going to give this a good water. The easiest way to check is to poke a dry finger into the compost. If it comes back clean and dry, it needs a water. And don't forget to add a label for your spring onions. And that's it for the sowing part of this series, which is a little sad, but we're far from done. There will be updates when we need to do some tending, and when these crops are ready, I'll show you how to harvest them. For now, keep this grow bag watered if the top layer of compost starts to become dry, and continue to pick out any weeds and throw away any pests. As always, thank you so much to my patrons for supporting this series, and do consider joining the community. Feel free to like and comment below if you're feeling extra lovely today. Thank you to you all, and happy growing.